Can you believe that you can make this simple yet stunning festive centrepiece using just foliage, some berries and 2 candles? I'll be breaking the design techniques down into simple steps, from anchoring the candles to covering your floral foam. This design is low, safe and is ideal for the centre of a table or a small coffee table. Grab your foliage and let's get started. Welcome back to today's tutorial. Now I'm going to be arranging in floral foam today, but you could quite easily do this arrangement using some wire netting. I've kept my floral foam to roughly the same size as my container, so it's nice and snug, and I'm going to push it down until it won't go any further into my container. Now I don't want a huge amount of foam for this design, so I'm just going to take off that top section and make it level with the top of my container. That means that I won't have to cover all of this floral foam and use an excessive amount of foliage. This design is aimed at beginners, so I want to make it as simple and easy as possible to follow. If you've not used floral foam before, then you need to allow it to soak under its own weight in a large container of water, and don't force it under the water or hold it under the tap, and certainly don't pour water over the top. My foam is really compact inside my container, it's not moving around, so therefore I don't need to add any tape over the top to secure it into position. I'm almost copying the shape of my container, so it's going to be a sort of oval size arrangement with the candles in the centre. So because of that, I filled my container right to the edges with floral foam so I can bring my greenery out towards the sides. Now the finished shape of this design is going to be oval, so I filled my container with floral foam so I can come out here at the sides. I'm going to make this simple arrangement as easy as I possibly can for you to be able to follow along at home. Now I've got some gorgeous copper coloured foliage. This one is your ordinary conifer, and if you haven't got anything like conifer growing in your local area and you aren't able to forage for it, then pop to your local florist and look for something that you can buy. This conifer has obviously been sprayed. This has been sprayed at the growers, but you could easily do this with a spray can. You could add snow onto it and you can make it any colour you want. But this one I've chosen because it matches the copper colours in my container. There is a slight issue when using dyed greenery or dyed flowers for that matter, in that sometimes the dye can come off on your hands. So be a little bit thoughtful when you're using anything that's been sprayed or painted, because it can damage clothing or soft furnishing, and if it touches your tablecloth, there's a possibility that the colour will transfer. But what I've done is I've cut the greenery down into lots of short pieces. And I'm not worrying about making them all identical, but what I'm looking to do is to create lots of pieces a similar length. And that's a good tip for beginners, particularly if you're making a round shape arrangement. If your pieces are fairly similar in length before you start, then you're almost guaranteed to have a really good shape. And what I'm going to do is, instead of placing them in the design in this horizontal position here, which I can't really do because my foam isn't high enough in the container, I'm going to place them in this angle, and I'm going to go right the way around the outside so that I'm creating an edge to my arrangement, almost reinforcing the oval shape of the container. Now this arrangement is going to be all round, and by that I mean you can see it from the front and the back, so it's not a front facing arrangement. It is an oval shape arrangement, so calling it an all round design might be a bit confusing because you might be expecting it to be round, but I'm trying to follow the outline of my container to create this oval sort of effect. Now I've recently cut all of this greenery to one size before I start, but if you're at home and you're new to floral design, you need to cut this slightly at an angle, remove any of this greenery to prevent it being pushed into the foam, and then place your greenery. Today I'm sort of overlapping it. I'm not trying to be perfect with it because I don't want a really solid edge. I want it to be natural and a little bit informal, and it's repeating the outline shape of my container. Oval container, oval shape arrangement. And before I bring any greenery into the centre, I'm going to use 2 of my candles. Now I didn't have anything that was the copper colour, but this is an orangey peach sort of colour, and I thought this was going to give a really good colour connection with the container. Now if you don't have the little plastic holder that you can easily buy from Amazon or from your flower shop, then you can just push the stem end of your candle into the foam. Now we normally have an overhead camera that would film that, but today it's not working. My laptop has decided it's given up the ghost and it's not working. So I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way and tip it forward. But what I've looked to do is have them equally distributed from the centre of my floral foam. And then what I'm going to do with the remainder of my little pieces of conifer is just place lots of pieces through the centre. Now, the important points with this type of arrangement is that we create an outline and we try to hide as much of our floral foam as possible. Floral foam is a mechanic. It's something, and that doesn't mean somebody who works on your car. A mechanic is your foam and your tapes and all the materials that you use. And we ideally need to have all those mechanics hidden by the time we finish our design. So if you are using a candle with a plastic pick on the bottom, ideally we need to have this completely hidden by the time we've finished our design. And as I explained, it's an all-round arrangement, so it should be fairly similar on front to back and left to right, because this is going to be placed in the centre of a coffee table or a small dining table. So the people sitting on this side need to see the same flowers and the colours and the textures as the people sitting on this side, and the same from the front to the back. So we need to try and equally spread out our greenery from side to side. I think this side is slightly higher. Let's just slightly move that down a little bit so the sides are more symmetrical. Now we don't have to have them perfectly balanced. We're not doing a mirror image. So don't worry if this side is slightly different to this bit here. It's just that general overall shape that we're trying to achieve. If you can't get hold of conifer like I have here, then any type of evergreen foliage is going to work really well. It could be holly and ivy if you want to be quite traditional. If you like greys, you could go with some eucalyptus. Or nearer Christmas, we'll have lots of the blue pines and the Nordman pine, which will of course give us that beautiful pine fragrance. So, fairly good equal distribution of all my different types of greenery. Now I love greenery and I have access to lots of different types of greenery, and I'm just going to add in a bit of a contrast in foliage. This one is Lyphomyrtus. This is the one that I always forget, and it grows in my garden, but I felt this was a fantastic colour link with the bottom of the arrangement. And that's another really good tip. If you're new to floral design, consider matching the base colour of your container somewhere in the top part of the arrangement. I would avoid using too many white containers because they can be a little bit harsh alongside lots of flower colour, particularly at Christmas time when you're using lots of reds, rich greens, silvers and golds. The contrast with the white can sometimes be a little bit stark. What I've achieved by placing in that second greenery is a contrast in shape and texture, something that's really important in floral design so that each piece of material really stands out and it doesn't become a mismatch and the design doesn't become too confusing and a little bit of a mess. There is still quite a lot of foam visible if you're looking at the arrangement close up. You probably can't see it from the camera, and if I wanted to, I could go around again with another layer. But I'm going to put my berries in first, and then that means I'll probably get away with using less greenery to cover the foam. Now, if you can't get access to berries like I've got, you could add some more greenery. You could add some artificial holly, artificial berries, you could get some cones, some orange slices and some cinnamon sticks. But what I'm doing today is something that's very basic. And I'm going to use a berry. This is a rosehip berry and I've bought this from my florist supplies. You would be able to order this from a florist shop, or if you're lucky enough to have little rose bushes in your garden, you might have some berries on there. If you can't get the rose hips, then think about holly berries. You could buy hypericum from a florist shop. And if you're a real keen arranger and you do arranging all year round, then think about investing in some artificial foliages or artificial berries, because it'll really help the budget and you'll be able to stretch your money a little bit further. Now I've only used half of that stem. It was quite a large stem, but it's only a small arrangement, so I don't want to overfill it because our proportions won't work particularly well. And to give me a little bit of a link between the more peachy tones that are in my candles I've also got an Ilex berry. So this is a holly berry. This is the leafless holly berry. You'd probably have to buy this from a florist shop, or you might get it in a supermarket nearer Christmas. But it's going to give me a little bit of texture and a different shape. Now the Ilex berry is much longer. This is what we would refer to as a line flower, and it's going to draw my eye away from the flower arrangement itself. Whereas the rosehip berries, the red berries, are far more compact and draw your eye inwards towards the centre. So I've got one more. That's going to come round to the area that I'm referring to as the back, but of course it's the same on both sides. And if I turn it round, you'll get to see the arrangement from all sides. And I said it was simple, I said it was basic, I said anybody would be able to do this design, and I think that is really quite striking to sit on a coffee table. You could give it as a gift to somebody, or it would work really well if there's only 2 of you at Christmas and you're having a lunch around a small table. Now I did mention in the introduction that I only had foliage and berries. Maybe that was a little bit of a lie, because I do have this gorgeous copper coloured grass. Now this is a Miscanthus. It's a grass that we can buy as a florist fresh. This one is starting to dry off and it has that lovely copper colouring. And what I wanted to do with this was just add a few pieces dotted around the arrangement on both sides, so that we create a little bit of softness and a floaty, airy feel to the design. Now this has been sprayed copper at the flower grower, and I've bought them ready done, and the added bonus with these is that they will dry off really nicely between now and Christmas, so I'll be able to use them in lots of different designs, and I'll be using it in different styles and different shapes of arrangement, so you can see how versatile it is. Now I said today's arrangement was going to be simple and good for first timers and beginner flower arrangers, and I'm hoping that it's going to encourage you to all have a go at home. You just need a container, 2 candles, some floral foam and some Christmassy, festive or wintry material to create the main part of the design. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more arrangements like this, because there's going to be lots more leading up to Christmas. Let me know what you think in the comment box. Is it too easy, or are you going to have a go at this at home? Thanks for watching, and goodbye for now.